I need you to think about this for a moment. What if I told you that this team's next move could completely change the course of the season? What if there's something happening behind the scenes that most fans haven't noticed yet, but should? We're at a turning point, the kind of moment where a smart decision can elevate this roster, or a mistake can put everything at risk. And the scary part? Not everyone is predicting this. If you're curious to know what might happen next, click the like button right now, and leave a comment telling me what you think this team's biggest move should be. Now let's get straight into it. Day 1 of the Combine is officially in the books, and it was all about the defensive linemen and linebackers. And Dolphins fans, let me tell you something, there were some serious statements made on that field. There's one name in particular that has taken over conversations across the league, and yes, I'm talking about Sonny Styles. This man didn't just have a good day, he put on a clinic. Styles ran a 4.46 in the 40-yard dash. At his size, let that sink in. He posted a 43.5-inch vertical, an 11'2" broad jump, a 7.03 cone, a 4.6 short shuttle. Across the board, elite numbers. When you stack up his profile, 6 feet 5 inches, powerful frame, explosive burst, it's rare. And when you compare him physically to someone like Calvin Johnson, you start to understand how unique this athlete is. Similar height, similar long speed, except Styles plays linebacker. And here's the big question for US. Does he even make it to pick 11? Because if we're being honest, after that performance, his stock may have skyrocketed into the top 5. Teams ahead of Miami, Cincinnati, Washington, Cleveland, the Giants, Las Vegas, Arizona, all have reasons to consider a linebacker with that kind of range and athletic profile. Every single one of them could justify pulling the trigger before the Dolphins are even on the clock. But he wasn't the only standout. On the defensive tackle side, the speed at that size was absolutely ridiculous. Zane Durant ran a 4.75 at 290 pounds. That's not a small interior lineman. That's 290 moving like that. Caleb Proctor, 6 feet 2 inches, 291, ran a 4.79. Grayson Halton, 293 pounds, clocked a 4.82 and posted one of the highest vertical jumps for a defensive tackle in the last 2 decades. That kind of explosiveness translates directly to interior pressure. Then there's Caleb Banks, 6'6", 327 pounds. He ran a 5.04 with a strong 10-yard split, and that first 10 yards is everything for interior linemen. That burst tells you whether a player can disrupt before the pocket even forms. Banks helped himself in a big way, and there's legitimate buzz that he could sneak into the first round. On the edge, David Bailey had a strong showing. Caldrick Falk also impressed, and remember, Miami has met with some of these edge prospects. That tells you they are doing their homework at pass rusher, which we all know is a priority. The Dolphins need someone who can consistently win one-on-one and collapse the pocket in big moments. At linebacker beyond Styles, Kyle Lewis turned heads with a 4.57 and explosive jumps. Jacob Rodriguez also showed intriguing traits, and he's someone who could be available on day 2, which matters because Miami holds 3 third-round picks right now. And that brings us to the strategy conversation. I'm hearing there's serious depth at corner in this class. That could allow the Dolphins to attack linebacker or defensive line at 11, then circle back on day 2 for starting caliber corners. And with multiple third-round selections, flexibility is there. Depending on how other roster decisions unfold, there could even be more capital added. But here's the tension point. If Sonny Styles is gone before 11, and after this combine, that feels very possible, do the Dolphins pivot to defensive tackle? Do they grab a pure edge? Or do they surprise everyone? Day 1 proved something very important. This defensive class is deep and explosive. There are legitimate athletes across the board, but there is only one Sonny Styles. Only one linebacker who combined that size, speed, and production in one showcase. And here's where things get even more interesting for us as Dolphins fans. Because while everyone is obsessing over the 40-yard dash times, the vertical jumps, and the broad numbers, and yes, those matter, what I'm really paying attention to is how this shapes Miami's flexibility at pick 11. Day 1 didn't just showcase athletes. It reshaped the board. Let's go back to the defensive tackles for a moment. The fact that you have multiple interior linemen running in the 4.7s and low 4.8s at nearly 300 pounds tells you this class isn't just deep, it's explosive. Zane Durant at 4.75, Caleb Proctor at 4.79, Grayson Halton at 4.82. These aren't minor details. These are traits that translate directly to early down disruption and third down interior push. If the Dolphins want to get more consistent pressure without always relying on blitz packages, this is the type of athletic profile you target. And then there's Caleb Banks, 6'6", 327 pounds, moving the way he did. That kind of size combined with burst is rare. When you look at the AFC contenders, you see physical offensive lines. If Miami wants to compete at the highest level, controlling the trenches becomes non-negotiable. Banks helped his stock in a serious way. Some evaluators already whisper first round, and after that performance, it doesn't feel crazy. Now flip back to edge. David Bailey had a solid day. Caldrick fall compressed in drills. The Dolphins met with some of these guys. That's not random. That's intentional scouting. When you see meetings at the combine, it tells you the front office is at least exploring how these players fit the system. Pass rush is still one of the most valuable assets in today's NFL. You can't win consistently in January without it. But everything keeps circling back to Sonny Styles. Because what he did wasn't just good, it was statement level. A 4.46 at his size changes how defensive coordinators think about coverage. You can blitz him. You can drop him into deep zones. You can match him up with athletic tight ends. You can spy mobile quarterbacks. That versatility is gold. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The more we talk about him, the less realistic it feels that he falls to 11. Think about the teams ahead of Miami. Several of them have linebacker needs. Several of them need defensive tone setters. And after a combine like that, general managers start convincing themselves they can't afford to pass. So let's play this out. Scenario 1, Sonny Styles is there at 11. Card in immediately. No hesitation. You take the elite traits and build around them. Scenario 2, he's gone. Now what? Do you pivot to the best defensive tackle available and fortify the middle? Do you secure an edge who can develop into a double-digit sack player? Or do you trust the depth at corner and linebacker to address those spots on day 2 with those 3 third-round picks? That's the chess match. Because this class is showing depth at corner, and that matters. If you can get starting caliber defensive backs in the 2nd or 3rd round, that frees you up to attack premium positions earlier. The Dolphins can't afford to miss at 11. Not with the expectations surrounding 2026. Not with a fan base that wants more than playoff appearances. They want a real Super Bowl push. And don't forget, we're only one day into the combine. Tight ends and defensive backs are next. Miami has needs there too. There's not a single position where we can sit back and say, we're set. That's why this evaluation period is so critical. But day 1 belonged to the defense. And it sent a message. There is speed in this class. There is power. There is versatility. And there are legitimate difference makers who could transform this Dolphins roster immediately. The front office now has options. Real options. And sometimes that's the hardest position to be in, because you have to choose correctly. So I'll leave you with this before we dive even deeper tomorrow when we break down the tight ends and secondary performances. If you're sitting in that draft room at pick 11 and Sonny Styles is gone, who is your priority? Do you anchor the defensive line? Do you hunt a pass rusher? Or do you trust the depth and trade back for more capital? Let me tell you something that's been on my mind, and I want you to really pay attention. There's a shift happening right now. It's quiet, it's subtle, but it's real. This team is standing at a crossroads, and most people are only looking at the surface, wins, losses, highlights. But the real story? It's deeper than that. It's about decisions being made when nobody is watching. It's about strategy. It's about building something that can actually last. We all feel the frustration of coming close but not close enough. And that's what makes this moment so important. This isn't just another offseason. This isn't just another round of adjustments. This feels different. There's pressure. There's expectation. And there's a sense that whatever happens next could define the next few years. Think about it. Every championship caliber team reaches a moment where they either level up or they stall. The difference usually comes down to bold moves, smart evaluations, taking the right risk at the right time. And sometimes, the move that changes everything isn't the obvious one. Sometimes it's the decision that surprises everyone. That's why you should be paying attention right now. Because while everyone debates the big headlines, the real impact might come from something nobody is talking about yet. And when it happens, some fans will say they saw it coming, and others will wish they had. If you want to stay ahead of what's really happening, hit that like button right now. And drop a comment telling me, do you think this team needs a bold move, or just small adjustments to finally break through?